Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here. What a crazy last few days we've had, right? Insane with the stuff that happened over in New Orleans on Bourbon Street, as well as the Cybertruck at the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. Then, Sean Ryan comes out with his interview with Sam Shoemate, which I pronounced Shoemate's name. I was calling him Shoemake yesterday, and I do apologize for that, just out of respect to him. But Sam Shoemate came on, spoke to Sean on his show, and disclosed the email that he had received from Livelsberger, allegedly, but seems like it's been confirmed by pretty much everybody, FBI, whatever that's worth, and everybody else who kind of knows this type of world as far as the intelligence world and military world. So it does seem like we have a legitimate letter from Livelsberger. However, it seems that the guys in Vegas have a different set of notes, allegedly from the same guy. I've got a lot to process, but I wanted to take one of the more common questions and address it in this video. But first, I want you to see the latest news report, again, from the Vegas guys.
Before setting off this bomb at the Trump Hotel behind me, police say Matthew Livelsberger left behind something that they're calling a digital journal, notes in his phone that said in part that it was time for America to wake up and rally, his words, around President-elect Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And that has led the FBI and Metro Police to believe that this was all planned and all meant to be some sort of stunt. This new video we received today shows Livelsberger charging that Tesla Cybertruck that he would then explode in Kingman before the bombing. It's just one piece of new evidence, including photos and writings investigators found on his phone. Police say this video shows Livelsberger walking around that car, soon to be full of fireworks and consumer explosives that investigators say he actually bought on his way here in New Mexico. Now, writings on Livelsberger's phone indicates frustration with the military, and in one of them he said, quote, "Fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. We are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves." The FBI saying today there is no tie right now, no known tie right now, as to why he chose this hotel or that Tesla.
Through these interviews, we've found that the subject held no animosity towards the president-elect. That's something that's also been reported. Investigative steps have discovered, and information from the Army indicates that he likely suffered from PTSD, and we are also aware that there were potential other family issues or personal grievances in his own life that may have been contributing factors. Again, we're looking into all of that.
Livelsberger's father telling CBS News that his son worked with drones in the military. Today, the Sean Ryan Show, that's a podcast hosted by a former Navy SEAL, released an interview with a former intelligence analyst who said he received an email from Livelsberger in the days before this explosion. The analyst says that email includes information about Chinese drones and national security threats. The FBI would only tell us that they are now trying to see if it is in fact Livelsberger who sent that email. And Metro also saying they were aware of that email, that they've known about it for several days, and they are looking through it, and that's why they released those excerpts to us today. Also important to tell you that Metro and the FBI believe that this was 100% Matthew Livelsberger alone, that he drove the car here, that he died by suicide here, and he is the only one responsible. They're trying to figure out, though, exactly how he detonated that bomb, and we'll talk about that coming up on 8 News Now at 4:30.
So the question is, as far as detonation, how does somebody detonate a bomb in the back of the truck and launch a projectile from a firearm into their own skull? And I'm using those terminologies because I don't want YouTube to, I don't want to use a wrong word and they get rid of this video. You guys that are familiar with YouTube knows that they don't like the self-deletion word that starts with an S. So how does someone do that? How do they detonate something that's literally in the bed and pull a trigger at the exact same time? I mean, obviously it can be done. I'm not saying it's an impossibility. It's not like jumping out of an airplane and typing a letter to your girlfriend. It's not quite that difficult, right? But there are some questions regarding that. There are way more questions regarding the allegation from the Army, let's just call it public relations guy, who told Sean Ryan's staff that Leibelsberger's DNA did not match that of his son. Well, that probably, there's two things that could happen there. One, it's not his son, obvious, and that's probably the message that they were trying to relay, that, oh, he did this because of that, right? A little bit of damage control if somebody is pushing buttons and making things happen in a certain way. Nothing better to do than discredit the guy by saying, oh, he was mad because it wasn't his son. I don't know many people who will go off the handle and try to travel from one state to the other in a rented vehicle, blow it up, and do what he did because he's mad because of a paternity test, right? Yeah, that seems like that's maybe extreme actions for somebody upset that it's not their child. The other possibility is that it wasn't Leibelsberger who they matched DNA with. They got DNA from his family to match it to that in the vehicle because their claim was the body was burned beyond recognition. So maybe it wasn't him in there. And again, I'm just throwing that supposition out there. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just telling you those are the two reasons why DNA would match. Not his kid or not the guy in the Cybertruck. Speaking of the Cybertruck, you all have seen the pictures of the inside of it, right? This is the bed, and you see the window is blown out between the bed and the actual cab of the vehicle. You can see the cans of fuel in there. You can see unspent fireworks. You can see things in there that pretty much contributed to the explosion and the fire. Now, you've seen pictures likely also of the firearms. These are the two firearms that he purchased. Not knowing what the configuration of these particular firearms were, I don't know if he had the ATF notification that two pistols were bought at the same time. If you look at this particular picture, you can see that the grip is burnt or blown off of it, and you see a buffer tube. But I don't know. This would likely have been, because of the NFA issues, this would likely have been either an NFA item if it had a stock on it, or if it had a stabilizing brace on the back of it, it could have been sold as a pistol. So if this thing were sold as a pistol, because we know he did not get ATF or NFA approval in a couple of days' time, this likely was sold as a pistol. So that means that when he purchased this firearm and the Desert Eagle, he would have had that notification that two handguns were purchased at the same time or within so many days of one another. So there would have been a notification sent to the ATF kind of as a red flag. It's a stupid idea and an idiotic thing that the ATF requires that people do whenever they purchase more than one firearm at a time. But nevertheless, that notification would in fact have been sent to the ATF. So it didn't sound like he was necessarily flying under the radar, and he did likely know that. Now, let's look at the inside of the vehicle. That red circle that you see right there, guess what that is? That's the phone that the authorities in Vegas allegedly got the notes from, that this guy likely, according to them, pinned. Now, I question a lot of that. Look at the condition of this phone. I'm not saying that it's not possible to get information off of a phone like this. I'm saying it does not look likely to have gotten information off of this phone, because it does not look like it's just cosmetic damage on the outside. This thing looks pretty bad in an area that was in pretty bad shape. Let's remember, most of the things inside of this are things that can melt. I'm talking about the chips, any potential wiring, soldering connections, anything like that made in here, including the glass on the front of it, could be melted. I find it a little bit odd that so much stuff around it is melted and indistinguishable as to what it is, but somehow or another the phone is extremely resilient and recoverable, and by the way, still work where they could recover information off of it. Now, I'll get more into the differences between the email and supposedly the information they pulled from this phone tomorrow. Now, I will say this real quick. If I'm going to look at two different groups of wording supposedly coming from the same person and they don't seem to line up accordingly, I'm likely not going to believe what they say they found on the phone that they had a chance to doctor, edit, or even write from the jump. I'll take Sean Ryan and Sam Shoemate's word all day long on an email they received. Now, somebody has to prove me wrong or have to find information that tells me that one or both are inaccurate, but I will tell you this, the writings in both areas, the ones that Shoemate received and the ones that allegedly the Las Vegas people got off of this burned phone, they don't line up, and they certainly don't correspond with one another. So one of them is lying or both of them is lying, but both of them can't be true. Now, they also recovered his wallet. This wallet looks pretty bad, but as you can see, the credit cards and even a picture, a couple things made out of paper, seem to be perfectly fine. Speaking of paper, they also recovered his military ID and his passport. I get if he was going to Mexico, it's likely why he had his passport. Where were these things that they were protected so well from the fire being made out of paper, where the body was burned beyond recognition? So much beyond recognition. Now let's be honest here, and I'm trying to be as fair as I can. The local authorities say that they have received the dental records from the military that state that this was in fact Leibelsberger. I'm not making that claim. I'm just telling you what the local authorities said, that this was him, even though the DNA did not match up. But they say that the body was burned beyond recognition, and they resorted to not only the dental records, but also looking at various tattoos that were not completely destroyed on Leibelsberger's body. This was a picture at the top that they saw. They likely got that off of social media. And then the bottom is a picture of his burned body where they're matching the two tattoos. Again, I'm not saying that it is or is not him. I'm just trying to present the information so everyone can take it, run with it, and make, hopefully, an educated decision or determination on what actually took place here. Now, a lot of conversation has taken place as far as Cybertruck. I have tons of questions myself that I would love to ask Leibelsberger that, look, dude, if you thought you were being tailed, why in the world would you get one of the most distinguishable vehicles in the world, a Cybertruck, rent it if you're trying to hide or evade somebody? That doesn't make sense to me. Again, I'm just putting the question out there. This seems like a completely odd choice for this. But a lot of people have said, okay, based on one of my questions earlier, what if it wasn't Leibelsberger in that vehicle? Or what if it was him and he was done away with? Somebody put the piece of lead in him earlier and they drove the vehicle there with the self-driving system. Well, according to Elon Musk, that is not possible. This is from an X account that I found online just in Cybertruck Autopilot Theory Debunked. Autopilot will not function unless it detects an attentive person in the driver's seat. This again according to Elon Musk. So they're saying that, and I went and looked at Tesla's own website, they're stating that a couple things have to happen. First of all, if you look right here, it says, warning, full self-driving supervised is a hands-on feature. Remember, hands-on feature that requires you to pay attention to the road, which, I mean, that's subjective right there, at all times. Keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times. So they're talking about different things that the truck will recognize to know that if somebody is, quote, attentive, according to Elon Musk, in the driver's seat and not allowing it to self-drive by itself. So he's saying that it's not possible for it to self-drive by itself. In fact, Elon went on to say that this is not a level 3 self-driving, it's a level 2. And you'll see what level 2 means. Look at the second box down there. You are driving whenever these driver support features are engaged, even if your feet are off the pedals and you're not steering. So even though Tesla requires you to keep your hands on the steering wheel, not necessarily the gas pedals, this is an SAE International rating that shows and discusses the different types of self-driving vehicles out there. And up to a level 2, it's not going to drive by itself. When you get into the green where it's level 3, those vehicles at that point do not require that attentive person, and you are not driving the vehicle according to this particular chart. But one thing that I want to point out that not a lot of people are talking about. This is in an area where we are seeing video where earlier he drove the Cybertruck through that valet area at the Trump International Hotel and then exited, right? That's where we see the vehicle going through. I'm not saying this video doesn't exist. I'm telling you, I haven't seen it yet, where the truck drives up. Now, I know they have this video because they have all the other video of this area, including pictures. So I know somebody has a picture of the vehicle driving up. To be able to see that video would also tell us if you saw a flash of the actual Desert Eagle going off in the cab of the vehicle. But more importantly, I wonder at what point somebody actually saw this vehicle drive up. And I say all this because this vehicle does have a function where nobody has to be inside of it. It's actually called the summon mode, where you can be as much as 200 feet away and you can call your vehicle to your phone. Now, granted, according to this, I don't have a Cybertruck, by the way. According to this, it sounds like you have to pin the area where you're expecting the vehicle to end up. This is essentially for a parking lot. If you're at a grocery store and you either don't know where your car is or you want it to come pick you up, that you can stand at the road, summon the vehicle from where you are, and it will drive with no one in the vehicle, attentive or not. It will drive to you, park right where you are or where you designate it to, and then you climb in and you leave. So that is a feature that I wonder if that could have been abused in this case to self-drive if, and again, I'm not trying to make this worse, but I'm also trying to be fair about when you quickly debunk something that you say, oh no, that can't happen. If there is a possibility in a different way that it could happen, I think we need to be fair about that. If somebody had done whatever to whomever and summoned, quote unquote, from 200 feet away, this Cybertruck from around the back of the building or in the parking lot elsewhere, somewhere like that, again, that's why the rest of the video is so important, and summoned it to that spot right there. This is how the system works in the Tesla Cybertruck.
I'll quickly go over the process on how to use actually Smart Summon. So in your Tesla vehicle, you want to turn this on by opening up the menu, clicking on the little icon of the car down here. Then we're going to open up the Autopilot menu. And no matter if you're selected on Traffic Aware Cruise Control, Auto Steer, or FSD, all of these menus are going to have the actually Smart Summon option somewhere in the menu. So you can see it was in Cruise Control and now I'm in FSD. And if I scroll down, we can see actually Smart Summon down here as well. So we're going to make sure this is toggled to the on position. And I also wanted to add that the summon distance is currently set at about 250 feet. So if you're further away than that, it's not going to work. And also, of course, you have to use this either in a driveway or a parking lot. But now I'm going to take you over to a parking lot and show you how this process works with your phone. So we're parked over there, and now with our phone open, we want to launch the Tesla app. Then scroll down in the app until you find where it says summon and click on that. Then it's going to connect to your vehicle. And at this point, we can hold down on where it says go to target.
So in this case, the vehicle is not very far away. I've seen other vehicles where it's actually a pretty good piece away from there. So this guy is summoning his Tesla car from this particular distance.
Make sure you keep your finger continuing to hold on that button or it will abort the summon process.
So that's important too. Somebody would have had to have their finger on that summon button on their phone, directing the vehicle to that valet position where the truck ultimately blew up, right? So this does require somebody else. This is not a set and it goes by itself. You have to man this thing according to this.
And then once the summon is complete, you can take your finger off of the button and walk over to your vehicle.
So as you can see, it's very possible that this thing could have been summoned from somebody if you can drop a pin and send it to that location, right? Instead of coming to where the phone necessarily is. If you noticed in the video, there was a spot where it was summoning to, right? This video right here is a little bit better because it shows it, in my opinion, a pretty good distance away. Look down at the very bottom. You see basically a video of the parking lot. Notice how far this self-driving vehicle, the self-driving Tesla, is going to go before it actually gets to the person. And notice how it's going to stop, slow down, pause, and things like that when it gets near a person or another vehicle or an intersection. These things are actually pretty capable of driving by themselves at a very low rate of speed, obviously, which would be similar to what it did in the valet. But as you can see, this was a little bit of a distance away from it. This might have been pressing that 200-foot limit that Tesla has for this particular feature. My point in all of this, I don't think we should be dismissing because somebody, whether it's Elon or somebody else, says this is not possible, that somebody drove this vehicle up there. I do think it's possible that they drove it up there. Another question that I have, and this is a really quick question before I let you guys go. Anytime you have ever been to a higher end hotel or a hotel that has a valet, whether it's guys running out to park the vehicle or whichever, the Trump International does have valets. It does have people who will take your vehicle and go park it in the parking garage. When you park it in the area where allegedly Leibelsberger pulled this Cybertruck up, that's the area that somebody will come out to greet you. Do you want me to carry your bags in? Do you want me to go park your car for you? They're on you like flies on you know what, really fast. Supposedly this vehicle drove up, and for 17 seconds, which is a very long time. Think about it. The next time you drive up, unless the place is jam-packed, and the Trump International was not jam-packed, but unless it's jam-packed, 17 seconds is not going to pass before somebody comes to your vehicle. That's a little suspect right there that nobody was there, right? The only explanation I can find, if it's not a quote setup, right, is if this vehicle was self-driving in the summon mode and a valet from the front of the hotel saw that and of course recognized that they've likely parked other vehicles or received other vehicles that were Teslas there as well. They certainly recognized that this was a Tesla truck, so they knew that that thing had that feature. Let's remember, these guys park hundreds, maybe thousands of vehicles. So they have dealt with the Cybertruck before. There's no question in my mind. So when they saw the Cybertruck coming up, if there was, and I'm just putting this out there, if there was a deceased person in that vehicle already, they probably weren't sitting up. So the valet would have seen this vehicle driving up, looking to be empty, thinking somebody summoned their own vehicle, they don't need me. Or they would wait for the person to come out who summoned the vehicle and help carry their luggage to the vehicle. Just putting it out there, guys. I think it's irresponsible for us to dismiss things whenever there are either workarounds or other ways that something could have happened. I do agree with what Elon Musk said, that this thing could not have been, according to them, self-driven all the way to the hotel. But I question whether or not something nefarious could have happened at the hotel utilizing the summon mode on the Cybertruck.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. It's over.